Let's download our first IPython notebook. So it's the second in sequence. We are watching these 4 videos, and now we're going to download by clicking on the notebook. The first time you do it, it might not work. You may have to do it twice, but the second time it should download, and you should see it at the bottom. Now you go to the folder that it's in, click on it, click on extract, and it should extract and be right beside where you had the zip file. Now we're going to go to Wakari. You'll need an account. If you don't have an account, you need to create one. I'm just going to go ahead and log in. Put in my username and password. And we wait while it loads up. There it is. We're going to click over here where it says upload file. And there is the file that we unzipped. We just drag it over there to where it says drag for uploads. You can also select an upload. Click on the upload button and notice now it's appeared inside of your account. If you're not sure how to do this, go to supporting materials and there's a tutorial that actually produced the Getting Started with Python notebook in there. Alright, let's double click on it. And it loads up. So here it is, our first notebook. And we're going to close the file browser because we just want to work with the notebook. And you'll need to read through here. I'm not going to narrate it to you. You can read for yourself. But notice that we're going to be doing Shift-Enter. This is our typical way of working with the notebook, and you'll be surprised how much of this course you're just going to be doing Shift-Enter. Not really writing programs, just Shift-Enter, Shift-Enter. Of course, you'll need to read the notebooks. It has explanation of what the Shift-Enter is doing, and then there'll be times when you'll be doing modifications, and those modifications will be what you will be producing things you get graded for. Again, I'm not going to read all this to you. It's in the notebook. This notebook is something you'll download. Notice though we divide 3 by 2 and we got 1. Now this is a Python 2.7 thing. In Python 3 it returns a decimal, and so from future we import division. And the future is Python 3. That's how we get the 1.5 is from future import division. A couple of things to keep in mind. Python is case sensitive. Also, indexing starts at 0. That might be a little odd to begin with. It turns out to be a really great thing. Can't emphasize enough how much I like the fact that indexing starts at 0. Okay, so we're going to put Python to work. First thing we're going to do is just generate using the randint. So it's going to go from 0 up to 2, not including 2. So that's going to be a random array of integers where it's either 0 or 1. Kind of like heads or tails. Now let's create an observation of 10,000 independent trials of heads or tails. This is uniformly distributed, so therefore we have a probability of a half of getting a 1, which is essentially a heads. So we divide the sum by the length, and that gives us about a half. So just doing a couple of these so you can see in some sense what's going on. I'll show you the first 100 of these. Let's make it let's do 100. So there's again 100 randomly generated zeros and ones, uniformly randomly, kind of corresponding to heads and tails. So we're just learning to use the IPython notebook and the way we're going to be using it in the course. And once again, if we divide the sum is the sum of all the 1, so the sum over the length is about a half. Now we can actually use a thing called list comprehension to generate the sum divided by length for an entire range, and this will give us a list of relative frequencies. And that's similar to what we were looking at in the lecture. So here is our list of relative frequencies. When you do this, you'll notice that at the beginning they're not close to a half, but they quickly approach a half. There's a plot very much like the kind of plots we did in class. In every IPython notebook, there's going to be something like this, in a macro install lecture 1, and then you run the install. You don't have to do this, it'll be in the notebook already, but this loads the things that you need for the actual assignment. So for instance, it loaded the set of positively labeled points. So these are points in the XY plane. They're going to be labeled as positives or ones, class 1. We also have negatives we'll look at in a minute. But first, let's look at a scatter plot. And here's the scatter plot with each of the positives as dots. But we can actually change the marker into the number 1. It's actually the LaTeX number 1 here, and 1 in the dollar signs. And notice when we do that now, we have a 1 marking the position of all the positives. And we can do the same thing with the negatives. And notice that we've got black positive 1s and green positive 0s. Now let's plot a line. So linspace creates an x range, and then y is a function of x. And then we plot x comma y along with the scatter plots. And what you notice immediately is that we didn't classify. So we were looking to split. This is certainly linearly separable. So what you're going to be doing is just playing around, seeing if you can find the line that actually separates these two data sets. So we'll just try in some values and replotting. And you'll find out when you do the notebook that there's a way of looking at this that gives you the line rather than just guesswork like what we're doing right now. You'll also notice at the end that we have some links to further references if you want those.